guys? Michael with MMA Island here with UFC strawweight Mallory Martin. Obviously, giant win from you, Mallory. Uh, First thing I want to ask you is how are you?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
So, yeah, the second thing I'm going to ask is how was the day spent following the win? You have a huge win like that. How was your night spent after that and then the day following, obviously?
Yeah, so I left the UFC bubble or whatever, and I just spent the night with my manager, my boyfriend, and Cynthia Calvillo, and then some other of our friends, and we just went to dinner and hung out and then called it a night. During the COVID, it's not much, the quarantine or whatever, not much that we can do.
Exactly. So what's the plan for you now between getting the win and then your next fight? What's the plan for you between that time?
Just get better, just keep getting in the gym and training. And I've evolved so much from my last fight to this fight. And just during this camp, I could tell that I've gotten better, so I'm excited to just keep grinding and keep working.
Yeah, and that was one thing I wanted to ask you is we mentioned the mental struggles that was going on, and I'll touch on that in a bit. But first thing I want to ask you about the camp is how was the camp leading up to the fight?
This was the longest camp I've ever done. It was 15 weeks.
Wow.
Because I was supposed to fight, originally I was supposed to fight July 18th. But I think they pushed me back to this month or whatever because for whatever reason, and it worked out because I didn't really want to fight or go to Abu Dhabi. Just traveling and the time change and whatnot, so it worked out better to be able to stay in the States and just fight in Vegas. So yeah, it was a really good camp, and I was really happy with it. It was long. I got to train with Shauna Dotson. She fought the week before me, and then I fought, and then Montana De La Rose, she's been training with us, and now she fights this weekend.
Yep.
So we've all been in camp together, and it's been great. We each help each other with an aspect of our game. I'm more of grappler based, so I'm helping them with grappling. Montana is a sick wrestler, so she's helping us with our wrestling. And then she's a really great striker, so she helps both of us with the stand-up part. So it was really cool to be all in camp together and just grinding and growing and getting better all together. It was awesome.
Well, the training and the process of getting better was definitely shown in your fight. I think the question I think everybody wants to ask you is how did you get out of that first round? Was it what do you put that on? Do you put it on your chin? Do you put it on your heart? Do you put it on the process of keeping on going? What can you say did it for you?
I'm not I'm not new to any adversity. I've had tough fights, and I've never been rocked like this in a fight ever. So I can't say I've been here before, but I think it's just my mentality, I'm a fighter, at the end of the day, I'm a fighter, and I'm not going to just lay down and let you punch me, or I'm just not going to give up. That's not who I am. And I made it work. And I remember falling. There was a time where I got up and I was against the cage, and she was throwing punches at me, and I fell against the cage and popped back up. But that moment I was this is not happening to me. In my head I was this is not how I'm gonna go down. My second fight in the UFC, I'm not losing like this. So it was my mental, really. I just was nah,
Yeah,
this ain't how it's happening.
definitely.
And then sat down. I'm really good at just after sparring rounds or grappling or whatever, or after training, just being able to reflect and being all right, it's over with, And I think that's one of my best attributes or whatever. After I sat on the stool, I was just all right, well, I'm not even thinking about that round anymore, because now I have a new round, a fresh start, that I'm going to do what I'm going to do, And I think I just started out too slow. But yeah, the second round definitely showcased my my potential.
Definitely. And you mentioned your second fight in the UFC. You mentioned not wanting to go out like that. You definitely didn't go out like that. And just getting your first win, not even in the fashion that you did, but just getting that first win in the UFC. How much of a weight off your shoulders is that?
Yeah, I think it is I didn't feel like pressure going into this fight or thinking like, oh, I have to win or whatever. Yeah, it feels good to have that first win and it to be a finish. I think that's very important to me because a win is good no matter what, but to be able to go out there and finish your opponent, I think it just means more to me.
Yeah, understandably so. Just kind of implementing, saying, I'm here, I'm finishing UFC, folks," and just you got the performance bonus. Obviously, it's great. Like as you mentioned, it's great to win the fight, but in the way you did and just getting the finish, just talk to me about how it show, like what it shows to show other people in the roster, other fans, the big promoters, Dana White. Like it's just great to show getting that finish. Talk to me about what that's like.
I think it's really cool because it's the best organization that's out there, and for me to go out there and it's not the first round that I expected or I wanted, but everything happens for a reason, and I probably wouldn't have got that performance of the night bonus if it didn't go like that. If the first round I dominated and then finished her in the second round, I probably wouldn't have got that performance of the night bonus. So I don't regret that the first round went like that, and that's just another tool that I have that I know I can overcome adversity. Yeah, I don't know. What was your question?
I was just wanted you to touch on talking about the finishes and everything.
Yeah.
Just give
Oh,
me
I
a thought
think,
about that.
yeah, just be able to finish someone in the UFC, I think is really cool because that's like the toughest fighters, that's the best in the world who fight in the best in the world, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's cool to go out there and to get a finish.
Yeah, and obviously you've been to the Apex before, winning it at Dana White Contender Series.
Hmm.
What was the experience different for you, like the atmospheric wise? Just because like it's coronavirus. There's no crowd. Obviously Dana White Contender Series. There's like typically family and friends, but just was the atmosphere different at all for you?
No, and I honestly didn't really pay much attention to it because I fought for Invicta and LFA, and I haven't really experienced that like crowd, that fan base, that energy. So I think it would be more different for like fighters like the DC and Stipe fight. They're so used to that main event spot, that energy of the crowd yelling at them and cheering them on. So I think it would be more different for like the bigger name fighters than just the people who are coming up in the game now.
So then I assume you're excited to have the huge crowd roaring for you when the world gets back to
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah, I think that would be really cool.
Exactly. So yeah, we talked a little bit about you mentioned the mental battles leading up to the fight. I think, and I want to talk to you about this. Just what kept you motivated? What kept you keeping your nose to the grindstone, going to training camp every day, battling mental problems? I'm sure everybody watching this can relate in a way. So what kept you going there?
I think it was just my coaches, they showed up every single day for me, and uh like how I had to show up for them. I had to. They showed up for me, like who am I not to not show up for them? So I think that was my motivation. And I like the beginning of camp was hard, but I was struggling before I even started camp, and then I started camp, and I like middle way through camp I was like I can't live like this anymore, like just this like depression, anxiety. I had really bad anxiety, and I like had a heart to heart with myself and was like, nobody is gonna save you, like if you want help and you want to get better and you want to be happy and you don't want to have this anxiety and this like pain that you're feeling, you have to get help. And I like started seeing a therapist and talking to my coaches and reading books and just doing other things that I knew and stuff that my like therapist told me to do that helped with my like anxiety and depression at that time. And by the time the fight came around, I think I was fully back to myself and motivated and happy and excited to be in there and to get the job done, you know?
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome to hear about, and seeing you being from a UFC standpoint, a lot of people definitely look up to you, coming up and coming MMA people. Just, and I think people in general, as we've mentioned, like as I've mentioned multiple times, it's just you've battling those mental battles is it's motivating for other people to see. Is there any sort of message you want to send towards people that are kind of going through the same thing and having those mental battles, persevering through that? Any message towards those people?
Yeah, I would just say don't give up, you know, like I, I was struggling and I was to a point where I like didn't know how I could keep living like this. Um, but I would just say like don't give up, because every single day it got better, you know? Like one day it sucked, you know, but the next day it was a little bit less, you know, or just get help, you know. I think if you're really in a tough spot mentally and you seek out help, you're gonna there's only only uphill battle from there, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, never, like, just don't give up, you know.
Yeah, as I mentioned, a lot of people are inspired by what you did. You brought my mother to tears. I showed my mother your
Yeah.
interview and your fight, and she was brought to
I've
tears.
had a lot of like very positive messages, you know, and I don't really pay attention to like the negative, but there's a couple people who were like, "Oh, so what would happen if you lost the fight?" But like my mental struggles was something that I was dealing with in my personal life.
Yeah,
It had nothing to do with fighting. It had nothing to do with that. It was only my personal life, and it started to affect my training and stuff like that, where I was like, all right, well, now it's affecting my training and my job. So I that's why when I decided to seek out and get help, because this camp was different. You know, I didn't have to lose any weight because had so much anxiety that I could barely eat. You
wow.
know, so I would be 127 one week and then 121 the next week. So this camp, it was all about just keeping my weight on and not really about losing weight like it typically would have been.
Yeah,
But yeah, so I mean, if I was I wasn't gonna leave that cage without my hand getting raised regardless. You know, that was my mindset. But if I would have to lost, you know, in the first round, it wouldn't have changed anything. You know, um, I was already in a good spot by then mentally, and I knew that this is just my job, you know, and I would be sad for a day or so like every other person would, but you got to keep moving on and just growing and getting better. So that wouldn't have affected anything. Um, yeah, so that's what I have to say to those people that want to say that.
definitely. And yeah, just to ask you, going through everything you went through, the long camp, especially, and just getting that win, like, how can you describe the moment that the ref pulls you off and you just know that fight that you've been preparing so long for is effectively a win?
Oh, it was awesome because I just visualized that over and over and over in my head, you know, like the ref stopping me and like me screaming. And at that moment, I was like, it's here, you know, like I'm living it, you know? So, uh, yeah, what you believe, you achieve, you know?
Definitely. Uh, so yeah, just to go back talking about the fight, what was your expectation from Hannah Cifers heading into the fight? Or do you even focus on what you expect from her, or do you just focus on your game plan, getting her to the ground, where, as you mentioned, and as everybody I think knows, you have a huge advantage?
Yeah, I think I obviously knew what she was going to do. She was going to come out and throw those big punches, those hooks and overhands. But I knew that with my cage control, I could be able to push her against the cage and yeah, get her to the ground. The whole plan was to get her to the ground, and I knew I would be able to open up her with my strikes or get a submission. Um, yeah, I think I just started too late, you know, started off kind of slow the first round and wasn't trying to get the job done, like the second round.
Yeah, this is one thing I wanted to mention to you, and I want to give my opinion after I let hear yours, of course, because this is one thing that just totally baffled me is that when people were talking about your referee Chris Taoni, he had 3 fights that kind of went the same way. It was Timur Valiev versus Trevin
Oh,
Jones, and Trevin Jones got hit with a body shot and then knocked him
yeah.
down.
Those are all back last weekend,
And
right?
then yeah, Daniel Rodriguez and Dwight Grant.
Yeah.
Daniel Rodriguez gets dropped, knocks him out the same round, and then you get dropped in the first round,
Wow.
come back with a submission win in the second. So
Yeah.
Chris Taoni was getting a lot of hate, and
Really.
I saw a lot of people in the comments on your win even saying that, oh, he should have stopped the fight in the first round. Uh, uh, but and just to give my opinion first, and then I want to get yours, of course. If you won the fight, clearly you weren't out of the first round. Like
Mm-mm.
clearly you were not out of the fight. That is when the referee steps in, is when you were out of the fight. All 3 of those fights, the decision went the other way. So I don't think there's a way you could put a case that the fight should have been stopped. Because and what's
No, I don't think so at all either, because I watched it back right after, and of course it looked bad, but I never like went limp. I never just let her hit me and didn't do anything to stop it in a way. I think I fought back to the like smart to the best of my abilities at the time. Um, Either what if it was holding her in guard, um, clinching up with her, or I even pulled guard because I wanted her to like just stop punching me, where I knew I would be kind of safe, or I could try to work the submission. But I think, yeah, I was still in the fight, and I was very thankful that he didn't stop it. Because I mean, I could see how people can look at the fight and be like, well, he could have stopped it there or whatever. But I feel like I fought smart to the best of my abilities.
Yeah, I think it shows that some people just bet on the other person to win and then they get mad because I saw a guy
Yeah.
even said like, "Oh, Chris Taoni congratulated her after the fight." I'm like, "Man, are you kidding me?" He congratulated her. So yeah, just to talk about, you mentioned the coaches. They had so much support for you. You mentioned throughout camp, throughout the fight. It was cool to see you in your corner and just look them in the eyes and say, "Okay." And then I just knew that your
Yeah.
second round would go totally different. Is there any names, any stories you want to give about your coaches and just to project to the public?
Yeah, I think all of them played a huge part in this camp and helped me a lot. Just either with my like strength and conditioning with Aaron Porter, Peter Schwab. I don't know how to say his last name. Sorry, Peter. But he helped me a lot with just my mentality, leading up to the fight. And so did my striking coach, Sean Madden. He gave me this book to read, and it's called Chop Wood, Carry Water. And that's probably my favorite book I've ever read now. I'll probably read it like a few times more. I listened to the Audible this week too. But they've all like helped me a lot, and we did a lot of visualization after training this week, just to going over weigh-ins or the fight, and they would just walk me through it and I would just visualize it in my head. So I think that's really cool that they started using that. But yeah, all 3 of them have helped me out a lot.
Yeah. So, and just what I was mentioning about the after the first round, when you sit down on the stool and you have to look your coach in the eye, and he gives you the advice. When the second round, when your change of game plan went, was that because of what the coach has said? Was that you just saying, okay, I need to do this? Were you playing autopilot? Why did the second round go the way it did?
By the time I sat on the stool, I was completely back. I was fine. I was normal. I sat down. I got a drink of water. I can't remember, I think I can't remember what I said, but I was like, man, did I get dropped? Did it look bad? And they were like, yeah, but you're fine. Let's go take her down. Like, put her, I think Peter was like, you're going to put her against the cage and take her ass down and submit her or beat her ass. Like, said something like that. Like, go do work, Mallory. Like, what are you doing? And then my striking coach was like, pop her with your jab, a few times and get into the clinch and get her against the cage, you know, like they're like, stop messing around now. And then I was just like, all right, I'm not having another second round go the first round, like the first round. So I'm going to get to work.
Yeah, it's got to be hard to just like sit there and then follow it. Just talking about when you're going up to your next fight, you mentioned you want to fight on the Halloween card. How likely is that in your eyes?
I don't think it's going to be that likely. My knee is a little banged up. I'm going to have to get an MRI and see what's up with it. Hopefully it doesn't need like surgery or anything like that. But I'm looking at like November, probably end of November.
Yeah, is that something that happened during the fight, or was it camp wise, or?
It was a little like not messed up, but it was a little tweaked. And it just happened like maybe 4 weeks left of camp. I've already had my ACL and meniscus replaced on that knee. So I don't know if it was just sore or whatever. And I decided to wear the knee brace for the fight just to be safe about it. And then after the fight, it felt fine in the fight or whatever. But after the fight, I like got out of the cage and was walking back to the doctor's office, and I was like, boy, my knee hurts, you know, so I'll get it checked out, and it feels a lot better today, and I'm sure it'll be okay.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned fighting on a November date, because I don't know if you know, Polyana Viana called you out for a
Yeah,
November date. How likely is that to be your next matchup?
100%. You know, I was actually supposed to fight her back in May. Like that was my opponent in May, but the quarantine hit and whatever, and all the fights got canceled. So I thought I was going to fight her again, like coming up, but then she got rescheduled with Emily. So that was, I had like a few other opponents during this time, because I didn't get Hannah Cifers till like 6 weeks before the fight.
Wow.
I had like 3 other girls, but yeah, so expected like I would fight her next or whatever, and she called me out, and I'm like game for it, you know. She's nice, she's cool. I'll fight her.
So yeah, and I thought it was really cool what you mentioned about Hannah Cifers missing weight. You just said like, I can't really say anything about that. I don't know what happened during her camp. I thought that was really, really cool. Why are you not one to throw blame? Because I've even interviewed fighters where they're like, I just think it's not professional. Why are you not one to throw blame on them like that?
I've also missed weight by like 0.8 one time, you know, so, and I just had a messed up weight cut. So like, I don't want to be a bias or what is it called? Like a hypocrite. So I honestly don't know, you know, she's not a big 115er. So she might've messed up her weight cut or didn't have any more time, you know, or whatever. And I've also fought a girl who missed weight by 8 pounds, and, you know, it wasn't that big of a deal, you know? So, I almost fought a girl, not almost, but I think it was like my 5th or 4th pro fight. She came in 13 pounds heavy.
Wow.
And then I was like, all right, no, like we can't fight. Like you're
That's
way too big. You didn't even try, you know? But yeah, I don't really like, of course it sucks that they miss weight, but also I'm getting your money. So thank you for missing weight. But yeah, I don't know what she went through for her cut or if it got messed up. So you can't really hate on that.
Exactly. It's shown to be that you're strictly business, and it shows in the cage as well when you're finishing folks out here. I think a lot of people are excited to see you fight again. One thing I want to ask you personally is, when are we going to get some trash talk from you? Mallory Martin, I want some trash talk.
I know. I know. I should start calling people out or talking trash, but I don't know. You know, I've talked in fights before. I don't know if you've seen that.
And
But
Paul
it's just
Felder
something
mentioned
that
the whole hand gesture where you're like, what was that?
yeah. I mean, that's just how I fight. I like to be present,
Yeah.
and just me doing these little things is showing that I'm living in the moment.
Definitely.
You know, so I'll be like, you know, fight in and be like, oh yeah, that wasn't shit, or, you know, miss a high kick and look behind me, you know, and these are things that I do in practice too, you know. You just have to have fun, you know, like what's the point of it if you're not having fun?
Exactly. Well, Mallory, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk with me. It was unbelievable. I mentioned even before we started recording just how I looked at it and I was like, that girl's got heart. We got to talk with her.
Thank you.
You mentioned Shanna Dobson fighting. That girl's got heart too. One of the biggest
Yeah,
underdogs in UFC history. And then you got
that's
Montana De
my
La Rosa
girl.
fighting next week as well. It's a good time for your camp, and it shows. So just to end off with one last thing for you is, what can people who haven't seen Mallory Martin fight, what can they expect to see out of you for your next fight?
Boy, I guess just an exciting action-packed fight, right?
Definitely, because it shows with your last one.
Yeah,
Well, as I mentioned, thank you so much for taking the time. I really do appreciate it.
yeah, for sure. Thank you.